Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
This time I'd like to call the Nash County Board of Commissioners meeting to order for May the 23rd. It is customary for our board to begin each one of our commissioners' meeting with a prayer. During this time, you're welcome to stand and join us in the prayer. You're welcome to use this period of time for your own prayer if you so desire, or you're welcome to use it for a moment of silence for whatever you may have on your mind. After that, we like to do a pledge of allegiance to the flag as well. And at this time, I'd like to call on Commissioner Dan Combs to lead us in the invocation, and then Mr. Wayne Outlaw to lead us in the pledge. Thank you. Dan?
You will stand. Dear God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for life, Lord. We thank you for health, Lord, and forgive us when we fail to thank you for all the things you do for us each and every day. Lord, we thank you for the opportunity we have to serve in Nash County. Lord, we thank you for citizens. We thank you for the people that work for Nash County, Lord, as they so diligently go about the business of the county and do the things that they need to do for the citizens. Lord, we just pray that you would be with us today, that we would do the right thing, Lord, and for our county. Lord, we pray for those that have graduated from the Citizens Academy, Lord. We just need to thank them for their dedication and their interest in knowing what goes on in county government. Lord, we just ask all these things in your name. Amen.
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 Would you join us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioners. We are now on item number 4 on the agenda, and it's a happy item, and I'd like to call on Patsy McGee to make this presentation to us. Patsy, good afternoon again.
Good afternoon. The 2020 to the 2022 Nash County Citizens Academy is completed. Nash County Government Works met on 5 Monday evenings in 2020 and 5 Tuesday evenings in 2022. We had to take a break in the middle due to COVID. The 10 sessions included presenters who were department heads and supervisors from almost all areas of Nash County government, plus leaders from some outside agencies for which the county has a significant funding role, for instance, Nash County Public Schools or Nash Community College, Nash County Tourism. In the past 14 years, we have graduated from Citizens Academy 258 local leaders, many of whom have since served on various committees, commissions, and appointed boards in Nash County. At this point, each participant has a 3-inch notebook filled with information about a wide variety of county services, plus contact information for departments that implement those county programs, so that they may continue to be engaged in the areas that interest them. I surely wish to thank those who have worked, often behind the scenes, to ensure the success of the series of classes. I'd like to recognize Hattie Cooper and Jacob Ferry and Emily Moore and Kathy Nicholson. Hattie Cooper, would you join me, Miss Hattie? Hattie Cooper really requires no introduction. She has volunteered with us since completing the Citizens Academy herself in 2014. She has encouraged several other people to attend the Citizens Academy, including 2 of her sisters. She is active in the community, as with the revitalization of Rosenwald School in Castelia. She works at the election polls, usually assisting voters with ballots and giving them the I voted stickers and the children future voter stickers. She's a master gardener, and she served as a community champion for the High-Speed Internet Initiative. I'm sure she does more than that, and that's just what I can think of. We cannot thank Ms. Hetty enough for all she does for the people of Nash County and for helping us with Citizens Academy.
Thank you for the opportunity to serve.
Thank you, Ms. Hetty. Jacob Ferry. Jacob Ferry, who wears a number of hats around here, has worked tirelessly on details related to preparing for and following up from each of the 10 sessions and graduation. He arranged for our meals, ensured we had enough water, coffee, and chocolate candy, put out the signs so we'd know where to go, put together our packets, coordinated with our presenters, set up for the sessions, greeted participants at the door, at least the first 5 sessions, and to let them in the building. Emily Moore did that after she joined our team. And Jacob also provided survey results to the presenters so they can continue to improve their presentations. His hard work and dedication have made this Citizens Academy run as smoothly as possible. I can never thank Jacob enough for his service to the people of Nash County, including help host the 2020 to 2022 Citizens Academy. Thank you, Jacob. Emily Moore, who also wears a number of hats, could not be here today. She joined our team in December 2021. She has stepped in and willingly helped us complete a successful run of this Citizens Academy, and we thank her for her efforts. And finally, I want to recognize Kathy Nicholson. Kathy, can you join us up here? Kathy has been our intern for the past 3 years, and she has provided us with substantial support during May, just May this year so far, during the preparation for Citizens Academy graduation, and we can't thank Kathy enough for her contributions. Thank you, Kathy. At this time, it's my privilege to propose that the Board of Commissioners award graduation certificates to the 14 Citizens Academy participants in the 2020 to 2022 Nash County Citizens Academy. And I'll tell you a little bit about each one of them as we present their certificates. Would the chairman join us in presenting the certificates? I'll just stay here so you can hear me. The certificates are here, and they should be in order. Bill Garner of Rocky Mount. Bill Garner is retired from Seegers Fence Company as the Special Projects Manager. He has volunteered with Habitat for Humanity and has been a Nash County resident for nearly 19 years. You just... No, it's one. He gets it. Sorry. We're going to get a picture. I'll join. David Gooding of Rocky Mount. David is retired from financing and accounting. He is involved with Kiwanis and has been a member of First Presbyterian Church of Rocky Mount for nearly 36 years. Andrea Hicks. Andrea Hicks of Whitakers has been a Nash County resident for over 40 years and brought a lot to our Citizens Academy. Misha Lynch. Misha Lynch of Rocky Mount is a founding member of the Rocky Mount Black Action Committee, works at Rocky Mount OIC, and has been a Nash County resident for nearly 10 years. Patricia Malden of Rocky Mount. She has served as a board member of the YMCA and the TBS Foundation and has been a Nash County resident for nearly 52 years. Johnny McRae Jr. of Rocky Mount. He serves as the executive director of More Than a Meal Foundation in Rocky Mount and has been a Nash County resident for nearly 12 years. Heather Moore of Spring Hope. Heather Moore owns Moore Splicing, serves as executive director of the Anchor Holds Recovery Peer Support Group in Rocky Mount, and has been a Nash County resident for nearly 24 years. Martha Tesoro of Rocky Mount. Martha is retired from Braswell Memorial Library in Rocky Mount and has been a Nash County resident for nearly 32 years. Thank you. Jim Windling of Rocky Mount. He serves as president of BR Global LLC and has been a Nash County resident for over 30 years.
Photo. Yes, sir. Congratulations, sir.
David Winstead of Rocky Mount. He is a member of West Mount Ruritan Club and has been a Nash County resident for nearly 12 years. That's what I was told. Might have been wrong. Sorry about that. Gladys Winstead of Rocky Mount. She is also a member of West Mount Ruritan Club and has been a significant addition to our Citizens Academy this year. Yes, sir. Also graduating but unable to be with us today are Ashley and Kay Folsom, Thomas Winstead, and we will get them their certificates. Thank you very much.
Well, on behalf of the board, again, I'd certainly like to thank each one of you that participated, and Again, I hope you'll go out and spread the word so we can keep doing this each year. I think it is one of the better things that our staff does here in Nash County, and I do feel like you probably learned something. I certainly hope you do. If any other board member wishes to speak, please do so.
Well, go ahead, Fred.
I just think it's a great thing that the citizens of the county interested in learning the function of county government. The county government is where the rubber hits the road. We are the closest to you as a citizen, not the President of the United States, nor the Congress. We are closer than they are. And of course, we would try to work together on many issues, especially on appropriation. But to understand county government is a great thing, and I follow the chairman in saying spread the word so that others will be interested in learning more. Sometimes people are critical of things and they don't realize the issues as it relates to what they may be critical of, and they get in there and see what the different departments within the county government, what they're doing, then they have a different picture. So spread the word. And I think you're great citizens. You're honored today for taking interest in county government, because county government is where the rubber hits the road.
Thank you, Mr. Bellfield. Mr. Outlaw?
I just want to thank you for giving of your time and effort to learn more about county government. I would encourage you, if you don't know your commissioner's number, to get that number and contact your commissioner if you have any questions or issues or anything you want to know about what's going on in county government. We meet at least twice a month, most months, and many months more than that. There's a lot going on, and what I find is people come when there's something that really is of interest to them. But really, Nash County in general should be of interest to everyone. And I just thank you for giving of your time and effort. I want to make two quick final comments. I believe Mr. Winstead has probably had double that number of years perfect attendance in the Westmount Rowing Club in Nash County. He's a wonderful man. He does a lot for the community, as does his wife, who does more. And I want to thank the McRae's for the invitation to come to your restaurant. I'm coming. I promise you. The old Booney's hot dog stand. So thank you guys for what you did. Patsy, thank you for what you did to make this all possible, and the folks around you.
Right. Yes, sir, Mr. Anderson.
Congratulations. I'm a graduate of the Citizen Academy, and hey, look where it sent me.
Sent you in the fire, didn't
It sent me in the fire. Well, see, Miss Hattie Cooper, she already done told me, that's why I was late for the pictures, that she said, I need to have a card, my commissioner's business card, so now she has it. Like I said, she's already at work, so I know she's going to work me. Congratulations to everyone.
Thank you, sir.
I just want to congratulate everyone, and I am a former graduate of the Citizens Academy as well, and I want to know, since I'm a county commissioner now, can I swap my red button-down shirt for one of your blue ones? Congratulations, and thanks for attending.
I'd just like to say I'm proud of each one of you for participating and for completing the academy, and really commend you for your interest and commitment to Nash County.
I just want to say thank you all very much. I appreciate your interest in county government and what goes on. I appreciate you taking your time, because it's an effort to care enough about what's going on in your county. And I'm, like Mr. Outlaw said, we're your commissioners. We work for y'all and all the citizens in Nash County. So anything we do or we can do to help y'all, just give us a call. But we appreciate what you've done, and we appreciate your accomplishment here. Thank you.
All right, I sure hope y'all will stay and participate in the rest of our meeting. It's a fairly short agenda. We won't be here for so long, I don't think, and you do get to hear firsthand our budget presentation for the next fiscal year. If you do have a few moments, we'd certainly invite you to stay. And if you need to leave, we certainly understand that as well. With that said, I'm going to move on to item number 5, which is a public hearing and approval of the allotment for economic development funds. Andy? Might pause just a second, sir. All right, sir, go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon. The purpose of today's action is to hold a public hearing for the allocation of economic development funds for the purposes of constructing Shell Building Number 2 at the Middlesex Corporate Center and Shell Building Number 1 at the I-95 NC Highway 97 industrial site. A description is pursuant to NC General Statute 158-7.1. Notice is hereby given that the Nash County Board of Commissioners will hold a public hearing at or after 1:30 p.m. on May the 23rd, 2022, in the Commissioners' Room on the 3rd floor of the Claude Mayo Jr. Administration Building, 120 West Washington Street, Nashville, North Carolina. The purpose of the hearing will be to receive public input on the proposed appropriation of economic development funds for the construction of a 62,500 square feet shell building in the Middlesex Corporate Center, which will be our shell building number 2 there. And it is the Nash County Board of Commissioners' intent to authorize the allocation of $1.6 million from the sale of the Middlesex Corporate Center shell building number 1 to the construction of shell building number 2. The Nash County Board of Commissioners also intends to approve the allocation of $1 million to the construction of a 100,000 square foot shell building on the I-95 Highway 97 industrial site, utilizing $1 million received by the North Carolina State Capital and Infrastructure Fund towards the project. And as the recommendation of the board is to approve the allocations of the funds.
Prior to going into public hearing, are there any questions from commissioners of Andy on this item? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to go into public hearing at this time.
Move to go into public hearing.
Moved by Mr. Belfield, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Outlaw. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in a public hearing to receive any questions or comments from the public about this item. And in layman's terms, what it boils down to is we built one shell building in the Middlesex Industrial Park that we recently sold. And at the time we committed to that shell building, we decided once it was sold as a board that we would invest those funds in an additional shell building next door to it, very similar in nature. We have just learned that in the industrial recruitment world today, that it is very advantageous to have a shell building sitting on a site. It brings interest a lot quicker, and you're much more likely to be able to land a tenant for those and bring those jobs and the infrastructure that goes on with the industry coming to our county. And so our board is very interested in doing that. In addition to that, during this year's General Assembly session, our Senator Barnes was able to get Nash County an allotment of $1 million out of the state capital fund, and to put where we saw the need for it best, and we had let her know up front we'd like to use that for a shell building if indeed she was successful, and apparently that resonated pretty high with our General Assembly, because we're all interested in bringing jobs and investment to the state and us as a board to Nash County. So that's the two things that we're doing. We will be putting additional funds at a later date with each one of those projects to finish the shell building, but it is anticipated that at some point, pretty soon, we'd be able to have an industry that's interested in those, and we would get a return on our investment at that point. Plus, we would get the jobs and the infrastructure cost to put that forward. So is there anyone wishes to speak at this time about either of these investments? Seeing no one, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
Move to close the public hearing.
Moved by Commissioner Bellfield, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Outlaw. Questions on the motion by board members? Seeing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a light sign. Public hearing is now closed, and I would again ask the board for any questions or comments they'd like to make on this particular item prior to calling for a motion. Any other questions, comments?
This,
Mr.
the
Bellfield?
funds we're going to be using for a shell building on industrial parking on Highway 97.
Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure that
Well,
the public understands.
it's a two-part motion here. It would be for both shell buildings. One at the Middlesex,
Yeah,
reusing the funds that we received from selling shell building one, and
Yeah.
then one we received the funds from the General Assembly to build the one that will be 100,000 square feet on the 97 site. And please keep in mind that neither of those totals will fully build those shell buildings, so we will be taking additional action at a later date once we get further into the cost of what they will be. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the allocation of funds.
Okay, have a motion by Commissioner Wilkins. Is there a second to that motion?
a second.
Second by Commissioner Bellfield. Any questions at all now? We have talked about this quite a bit. Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Andy? Thank you, sir. We'll move on to item number 6, which is an engineering service contract for Middlesex Corporate Center Phase 2. Call on Jonathan Boone at this time to make this presentation. Mr. Boone, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners. You just finished an agenda item talking about the interest that we have observed in the Middlesex Corporate Center, and you're also likely aware that we recently completed Phase 1 improvements, construction of about 3,300 foot of roadway, some water lines, sewer mains, and the contract you have in front of you today is to complete that work to construct the remaining 3,700 plus minus feet of the parkway to connect to US 264 alternate and to extend sewer to a couple of those parcels within the park. So this work, the contract you have in front of you is for the design, engineering, and construction administration fees. We'll come back at a later date and deal with construction observation or inspection. But because of the commitments the county has made to some industrial development prospects in the park, we saw the need to accelerate this work, and thus the selection of the Wooten Company to assist us with this next phase of the infrastructure improvements. So with that said, I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Questions from board members? Thank you, Mr. Boone. Prior to calling for a motion, any question the board member has, fully understand what we got here is, of course, completion pretty much of everything with that industrial park. Seeing no questions, I entertain a motion for approval. A motion by Commissioner Combs, is there a second?
Second.
A second by Commissioner Leggett. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries as well. Moving right along. Mr. Boone, thank you, sir. That was item 6, and we'll move to item number 7. We had an orchestra, we'd do a drum roll right now, but we don't have one, so with that missing, I'd call on our city manager, Stacy Satchler, to make this presentation and request for the 23 budget message.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
You all have a budget book in front of you at your place, and this is your recommended 2022-2023 budget. And the second meeting in May has become the time which a budget is presented to you for the first time. So we will do that today. I will deliver you a budget message, and as we move forward, I would welcome your input to make any changes before we look to do a public hearing in June. So this is the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget presented to you in accordance with the North Carolina Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act. The proposed budget is presented subject to a public hearing and the Nash County Board of Commissioners revisions and approval. The budget as presented is balanced. The budget provides the resources needed to ensure the delivery of governmental services in a fiscally responsible manner. The budget is one of the best tools to demonstrate the board's priorities for the future of Nash County. This proposed budget is a continuation of the financially sound and fiscally conservative practices established and embraced by Nash County government. This message will focus primarily on the county's general fund, which is the largest fund and includes all governmental activities supported by local tax revenues. For revenues, the overall fiscal year 2023 proposed budget, which includes the general fund, enterprise fund, special revenue funds, and internal services funds, is $121,536,411 compared to fiscal year 2021-22 overall approved budget of $115,356,660. The general fund is proposed to be $106,316,300, which is $5,981,726, or 5.96% greater than the fiscal year 2022 original budget. This budget as recommended is based on a 67-cent tax rate, the same as the current year, and this represents the 13th consecutive year that the tax rate has remained at 67 cents. For property tax collections, ad valorem tax revenue reflects an increase of approximately 2% over the current year budget due to an increase in tax base. The increase is due primarily to new construction, increases in personal property, and registered motor vehicles. According to the fiscal year 2020-2021 Nash County audit, the overall tax collection rate in Nash County was 99.16%. The collection rate for real and personal property and public utilities was 99.03%. And the collection rate for motor vehicles was 100%. For purposes of estimating next year's property tax revenues, this proposed budget assumes a conservative collection rate of 97.5% for real and personal property and for motor vehicles. The tax office is committed to maintaining Nash County's high tax collection rate during the future years and will continue to concentrate on the collection of prior year's delinquent taxes. Due to increased collections in current and prior year's tax, the tax office has continued to reduce the county 10-year outstanding delinquent tax balance, and we thank them for their hard work. For estimated tax base and rate, Nash County total estimated valuation for the fiscal year 23 is $8,141,000,000. At 100% collection, each penny of the tax rate assessed will produce $814,100. The total estimated tax base increase from the 2021 tax year is 1.97%. At the proposed tax rate of 67 cents per $100 valuation, Using a conservative collection rate of 97.5%, the fiscal year 2023 general fund budget anticipates the collection of $53,791,093 in ad valorem revenues, which includes estimates for the collection of prior year delinquent taxes, interests, and other miscellaneous charges. For sales and other tax, sales tax collections are budgeted at $19,865,520. This estimated collection is based on the current year projected collections. Sales tax collections are the second largest funding source for the general fund. Other taxes total $580,125. Sales tax and other taxes represent 19.2% of the recommended budget. For intergovernmental revenues, intergovernmental revenues include revenues received from other governments, local, state, and federal, with total projected funding for fiscal year 2023 at $17,804,664. This includes funding for the Department of Social Services, the Health Department, and various other state and local restricted funding. Total projected intergovernmental revenue represents 16.8% of the general fund budget. For other operating revenues, projected funding for other operating revenues includes permits and fees, sales and services, investment earnings, rentals, and other miscellaneous revenues, which totals $7,345,475, or 6.9% of the general fund budget. For fund balance and reserve appropriations, the fiscal year 2023 budget proposes $5.5 million, or 5.17% of general fund budget in fund balance appropriations as a balancing factor. Nash County budgets an amount we believe can be offset with a combination of greater than expected revenues and expenditures less than appropriated. Restricted health reserves are budgeted at $973,966, and together, fund balance and reserve appropriations represent 6.09% of the general fund budget. Next, we'll talk about expenditures. The following portion of the budget message highlights particular funding items which have significant impact on the proposed budget. For salaries, in an effort to ensure employee salaries are reflective of their position in the market, Commissioners engaged in a contract with the Management Advisory Group, MAG International Incorporated, to conduct a classification and compensation study for Nash County employees. The proposed budgeted study results include a 2% cost of living adjustment built into the compensation recommendations. The recommendations shift positions that needed an adjustment to market and compensation to make equity adjustments for employees' length of service. The associated net cost to the general fund is approximately $2,793,000. For personnel, Nash County's greatest asset is its employees. This budget is focused on taking care of our current staff in a way that is sustainable for years to come. The only proposed new positions in this budget are those to accommodate a proposed shift change for emergency medical services. For local government retirement, the proposed budget includes an increase in local government retirement for employees to accommodate the state-required retirement rate increase from 11.4% to 12.14% for general county employees, and from 12.04% to 13.04% for law enforcement officers. This change resulted in an increase of approximately $230,000. For health insurance benefits, this year, pool participants in the state health plan saw a significant increase in rates. Employer rates for health insurance went from $521.96 to $647.86, and dental increased from $31.99 to $33.27 in January of 2022. Overall, the health and dental contributions to the state health plan increased general fund expenditures by 22%, approximately $981,000 from the fiscal year 2022 budget. For gasoline, although hard to predict, increases in gas costs are significant. The total county budget expenses for gas are $777,936, or 62% more than the current budget year. For general government, the budget includes funds for general government operations totaling $10,837,662, or 10.19% of the general fund budget. This function provides for all administrative county operational costs, including governing board, administration, grants, human resources, finance, legal services, information technology, communications, tax, facility maintenance, register of deeds, and the Board of Elections. For public safety, the recommended budget for public safety functions is $28,867,847, or 27.15% of the general fund budget. Public safety includes the following departments: the Sheriff's Office operations, including detention center and court services, 911 emergency communications, emergency services, including fire and rescue, EMS operations, medical examiner, forestry services, and animal control. This recommended budget includes funding to support a new shift structure for our emergency medical services operation. The new shift is funded for half a year beginning in January, with anticipation to begin a 24-hour on, 72-hour off work schedule sometime in the spring. The new schedule will incorporate 12-hour shifts at two of our busiest stations, Station 800 at the hospital and Station 700 in South Rocky Mount. Although there was not a definite timeline for shifting all operations to a 12-hour shift, that is the future goal of Nash EMS. The budgeted amount for the shift change for January through July is $814,000. For economic and physical development, the recommended budget for economic and physical development functions is $4,139,870, or 3.89% of the general fund budget. This function provides for planning and inspections, cooperative extension, soil and water services, rural transportation planning, the Rocky Mount Wilson Airport, and Nash Economic Development. For human services, the recommended budget for human services functions is budgeted at $27,212,757, or 25.6% of the general fund budget. The human services includes the Public Health Department, the Department of Social Services, Senior Services, Veteran Services, Mental Health Services, Office of Juvenile Justice Program, Home and Community Care Block Grant Services, and outside agency funding. For cultural and recreation, the recommended budget for cultural and recreation services functions is $2,230,282, or 2.10% of the general fund budget. This function includes funding for the library, Parks and Recreation, and Parks Maintenance. The total for this function includes funding for Braswell Library, including the State Library Grant, and the county's 5 municipal libraries. For education, The education recommended budget totals $25,642,323, or 24.12% of the general fund budget, excluding debt service. This includes funding of $21,376,860 for current expenses and $1,396,890 for current year capital needs for the Nash County Public Schools, and $2,593,573 for current year expenses and $275,000 for current year capital needs for the community college. The total recommended funding for Nash County Public Schools includes a 1% teacher supplement increase for both certified and non-certified staff, which will be matched by a 1% teacher supplement provided by the school system. The total recommended funding for Nash Community College includes funding for the addition of a full-time maintenance position. For debt service, the overall debt service for fiscal year 2023, including debt service for Nash County Public Schools of $3,241,178, and for Nash Community College, $645,420, is $7,170,559, or 7.1% of the general fund budget. There are capital needs that are not budgeted for in the fiscal year 2023 general fund. Staff will be working with Davenport Public Finance to bundle some projects to consider them for some short-term financing options. Other capital items are not addressed in the general fund budget for the fiscal year 2023 due to Nash County's ability to receive proceeds from our agreement with the hospital in the current year. For transfers out, the budget includes a transfer to Tax Revaluation Reserve Fund of $200,000. This is an acceleration in funding to the revaluation due to the required change in schedule from 8 years to 7 years. For a review of other funds, in addition to the general fund, the county administers several funds supported by fees and other restricted revenue sources. The enterprise fund and the fire district's fund are briefly mentioned here. Other funds included in the overall proposed budget are included in the budget summary. For the county's utilities enterprise funds, the solid waste fund and water sewer funds operate as enterprise funds with no property tax contribution. Each fund is supported by user fees. For the solid waste fund, the solid waste program is composed of two elements, the C&D landfill and the convenience sites. The budget is recommended at $3,809,093. No changes in the fees are anticipated for the solid waste fund for the 2022-23 budget year. For public utilities is made up of Central Nash Water Sewer Fund and Northern Nash Water Sewer Fund. The combined budget appropriation for the two public utility funds is recommended at $3,374,443. The proposed fee changes were presented to the board at the budget retreat, along with the establishment of a new sewer surcharge fee. For fire districts, there are 18 fire districts in the county that have individual tax rates. The county levies a tax in these fire districts throughout the county and administers the collection and disbursement of those taxes within the fire district's fund. One fire district has requested an increase. The Middlesex Fire Department requested an increase from 8 cents to 12 cents. However, it's recommended in this budget that the board consider approving a 2-cent increase for this district, as current and future growth is projected to sufficiently provide for the fire district's needs. In conclusion, a copy of the budget has been filed with the clerk to the board and is available for public inspection in the manager's office, as well as on the county's website. A notice of public hearing will be published as required. No earlier than 10 days after May 23, 2022, the date of this budget presentation, and no later than July 1, 2022, the Nash County Board of Commissioners must hold a public hearing and therefore adopt a budget ordinance making appropriations, estimating revenues, and levying taxes for the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget year. County staff recommends the Commissioners hold a public hearing on June 6, 2022. Commissioners are urged to carefully consider and study this recommended budget. If there are any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to contact county staff. On behalf of your county staff, we look forward to working with the Commissioners during the coming year to provide the best services possible at the most reasonable cost to the taxpayers of Nash County. And I would just like to say a special thank you to our finance staff and our assistant county manager for all of their help in providing information and support with developing the budget.
Thank you, ma'am. It is my belief, Board, that having this presentation today and, you know, us not really studying it all, our best approach to this would be to try to agree on a work session this coming week, if possible, prior to the public hearing, to give you time to study the book, study the message that the manager gave us, and look at each department and make any questions that you might have, and then come back together at a time I hope we can arrive on next week. We really need to do it next week because our work needs to be fairly well along, even though it doesn't have to be completed by June the 6th. But we would have a public hearing at that point, listen to what the public has to say, and take that into account prior to our second meeting in July, which we would be required, in June, which we would be required to adopt the budget at that time prior to July the 1st. But if others have another way you'd like to go about it, I think we would need to discuss that. Does that sound appropriate for everyone?
When?
I'm suggesting one day next week, Mr. Belfield. We hadn't talked
Well,
about
I
it.
understood that, but I'm saying when? Next week?
Well, let's look at our calendars. I really want to get the board's approval to that approach first. Is that okay with everyone?
Works for me.
Okay. It appears like to me, I don't think this county will be closed on Monday. I think Tuesday might be a bad day. They probably want time to get back in and get situated. Stacy?
We can accommodate you,
Okay.
whatever works for the board.
Okay, so I'm suggesting either June the 1st or June the 2nd, which is a Wednesday or a Thursday, and if we...
Thursday would be better for me.
Okay.
Myself as well.
Okay. Other comments on Thursday, working toward the date on Thursday? Wednesday or Thursday, either one.
Are we talking half a day or a full day?
No, I think we'd be talking hopefully a couple of hours, depending on how many questions you got. That's unpredictable, I think, at this time.
Preferably, to me, in the afternoon.
Okay.
Thursday's always a bad day for me, but I'll work on it.
Okay.
Thursday afternoon.
What do you want to, what does Thursday afternoon at 1:30 look like then? Time we generally meet. Can we agree on that time? I feel like I'm not getting a whole lot of comments about meeting again, but I really think we need to do that. I think each one of you had some questions about this. I certainly have quite a few questions myself.
Yeah, I have some questions too, but
Okay.
what about 1:30?
Any objection to doing it at 1:30 next Thursday?
I'm good.
You
I'm good
good?
with that.
Works for me.
Dan, you can make it work?
Yeah, I'll make it work.
Okay. Marvin?
Well, has the board ever thought about possibly having it at 6, so the public could possibly have input?
Well, the public would be, I think, more in tune to come at the public hearing. Of course, it will be an open meeting.
Okay.
and the public can certainly come. It would not be a closed session, but we do have on our first meeting of the month, it will be a public hearing on the budget.
That was my
Comment.
suggestion,
Okay,
comment.
okay.
Mr. Chairman, could you repeat his concern?
I don't think he had a concern. His question was, had we ever considered doing a work session at 6 o'clock in the afternoon so the public might be more in tune to be able to attend? And I pointed out, as I did, that the public hearing on the first of the month meeting was just for that, the public hearing to have the public's input, but it will be an open meeting no matter when we have it, and the public can certainly be there. But it is a work session, it's not a session to have public engagement in the conversation during a work session.
Okay.
I do agree with Commissioner Arrington's concern is that having some meetings that the public, working public can participate in openly. I would agree with that.
And you mean meetings in general?
Yes.
Okay, understood. And we have tried that in the past, and I'm certainly willing to try it. It helps the working group of us out some, quite frankly, but it doesn't really matter to me when we have it. I think because the staff would be somewhat involved in this, we should be conscious of their time on this particular item in the work session on the budget and try to do that during the day.
I understand.
Okay?
Oh, well,
But certainly,
our staff are paid for day and,
Day and night.
what was that, Mr. Arrington?
so our staff are paid for day or evening, like I said, they are on salary.
Most of them that would be meeting with us, I agree with your comments, sir.
Right.
It seems like I've got majority of us agreeing to 1:30 next Thursday. Can I get a consensus on that? Any objection to that?
Works for me.
It's fine for me.
Ms. Saxler, you okay with that? With your staff?
Yes.
Okay. We'll do that at 1:30. And I do encourage you heavily to maybe engage with staff prior to that time to make our time efficient with them next Thursday, or get as many questions as you can answered, or at least an understanding of it, so the board can come back together and engage in a conversation to work out any questions that you do have, whatever they may be. So we'll set that, Madam Clerk, so we would recess until that time today. Is that what I need to do?
Yes, sir.
Okay. With that said, I'd open up for any conversation from board members about the budget presentation.
I'd just like to say that I think it was very well presented. There was no doubt somebody done a lot of work to make this thing work. And I'm just proud of staff and what they've done, but on the surface, it looks like you've done a good job, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Other comments? Seeing none, any closing comment, Ms. Manager?
No, sir, I do, would just encourage board members to please reach out and share what you have an interest in learning more about so that we can possibly build an agenda for that meeting and have appropriate materials ready for you.
Okay. And if possible, I know things pop up that need immediate attention, but if possible, if we could concentrate on that one item as much as we can. If you come up and you need something else taken care of that will hold up any other project, please put it on there. But I would like to keep it as near as possible to a work session on the budget.
Okay.
Any other comment? Okay, we'll go to item number 8, which is board commissions and special reports, and I'll turn it over to Vice Chair, Mr. Outlaw at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, we're going to start with board reports from District 1 Commissioner Arrington.
The one, well, he was supposed to take me off the Spalding Resource Center advisory board, and I really have no report on the Community Caregivers Advisory Board or the Juvenile Prevention Council.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any questions?
We would note that Mr. Arrington did resign from that board in
Right.
accordance with general statute to take him off from that board.
I'm sorry, which one?
Yeah,
The
Spalding.
Spalding Resource Center,
Okay.
you remember the last meeting, he did resign from that board due to the county providing fundings
Right.
to it.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Any questions for Commissioner Arrington? Hearing none, District 2, Commissioner Belfield.
Start up Tar River Transit, we were scheduled last week to meet, but we didn't have a quorum, so we reset that date. Upper Coast Plain Council of Government, we met by virtual, and we discussed the budget, and we will approve it at our June meeting. Which is new now, name of it is not need now, it's new Nash Edgecombe Wilson Economic Activity. We did have our regular meeting last month, and we are scheduled to meet again this coming Thursday at 3. Nothing that went on in that meeting, I think, was that important. We did have a presentation on the budget, but that will be acted on, I think, in our next meeting. Right on that, Stacy? Yeah. I am supposed to be off of that board, but I was told it's not official yet, so I guess I need to go to the meeting this coming Thursday. And I am working on a replacement that I will have to present to the commissioners at our next regular meeting in June. And Juvenile Council, Crime Prevention, I haven't had a notice that they're going to have a meeting, so in my knowledge, they haven't met in 2 months. So no report.
Any questions?
And I think I'm going to have to come off of that too, because we fund that, we put some funding in that 20%, I believe, of that total budget, and 80% comes from the state. That's it.
Yeah,
Anybody have any questions for Commissioner Belfield?
that is correct, Mr. Belfield, because I'm on that juvenile prevention board. We do some funding, so I guess.
Did they discuss
question.
anything about you having to go off because of the new law?
Yeah, well, like I said, that's, I guess, a question for the attorney.
If it's created by a state government, you don't have to get off.
Okay,
Right, that's what I thought.
all right.
I don't think you'd have to get off that. Well, in fact, the attorney just said you
Yeah,
didn't have to get
well,
off
I know
that.
I haven't had a notice about any meetings in 2 months.
Yeah, but we've been meeting, we'll have to get with them, maybe they missed your email address or something.
Is that this board appointment? Do we appoint those members to that?
I believe so.
Okay. So
Yeah.
do we have 2 commissioners appointed to it?
Well,
Or do
I
we
don't
need to
have
look
our
into that?
chart in front of me. I can
Okay.
look that up.
we've had 2 commissioners on there, I know, for several years.
Okay, that's fine.
And this board appointed us.
Okay. Well, I think the manager's going to look in to see what we got there and see why you wouldn't be getting notified, Mr. Belfield.
Any other questions? Hearing none, District 3, Commissioner Combs.
Human Services Board has not met for a while. Agriculture Advisory Board has not met for a while, and Trillium meets Thursday. So I'll have that next time.
Any questions? Hearing none, District 4, Commissioner Leggett.
Thank you. UNC Nash Healthcare Board of Commissioners continues to meet monthly. Their COVID numbers in-house remain low, and the hospital is slowly returning back to normal operations. The hospital is conducting a strategic planning process, and fellow commissioners, you should have received an email from the hospital requesting your input and participation in 2 virtual listening sessions. Those will be held May 24th, which is tomorrow, and June 1st. I encourage you to participate if available. Just let me know if you have any questions about that. I'm happy to help. On the STEP board, Commissioner Wilkins is now serving on that board, and I will let her report on that. The Natural Resources Resilience Committee, they have a NRCS, which is Natural Resources Conservation Service, has applied for funding for stream flow rehabilitation assistance program and is awaiting a decision on those funds. I anticipate that the committee will return to meeting once we receive word on that funding. That's all I have.
So on the virtual meetings, it's 2, not just one or the other?
It is one or the other. You can participate in either
Okay.
one that fits your schedule.
Okay, because I had communicated that I was not available on the 24th, but I'm not available on the 1st. So I'll communicate that to them.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Commissioner Leggett? Hearing none, District 5, myself, I do not have anything significant to report from my 3 committees. I did hear Ms. McGee state today that the booklet that you gave to the Citizens Academy participants, it had a listing of all the boards, and I know we had talked about providing that to myself, and I guess the other commissioners might be interested in it.
Right.
All the boards that Nash County has, the frequency of the meeting, something about their responsibilities, and a listing of the current board members, because I have people ask me about these boards.
Yes.
And I want to make sure I tell them correct information.
Yes,
So
we're
if you could
working on
get
that.
that to us, I'd appreciate it. Any questions? District 6, Commissioner Wilkins.
I attended my first meeting of the Gateway Technology Center Board of Directors last Tuesday, the 17th. It was more of an information meeting. No action was taken. And insofar as Strategic Twin Counties Education Partnership, we're supposed to meet tomorrow. We have met once, but in the conversation centered around raising funding, but that was it.
Any questions for Commissioner Wilkins? Hearing none, I'm going to turn it over to the chairman, District 7, and once the chairman completes his report, then he will resume the meeting. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Outlaw. We did have both of the main committees I serve on had important meetings in the month of May. The Tourism Development Authority, we met on the 10th of May, and it was our budget meeting in which we approve a budget for the upcoming year and take requests for funding. Our projections, quite frankly, look very well. I have provided you with a sheet on these. The first sheet is the projections for the revenue moving forward and for the last several years, 3 or 4 year period, I think. And our projections next year for revenue is $1,108,000. And it's considerably more, about 10% up from what it was, a little over that for 2022 budget that we approved. So our tourism and use of our hotels has gone up quite a bit. That sheet looks like that right there, if anybody can't put their hands on it. But quite frankly, it looks well, and we do anticipate it to keep climbing. I think it's a testimony to where we are in COVID. People are traveling quite a bit more. They're staying in our hotels. They're eating in our restaurants. And I do think a lot of this is driven by what Rocky Mountain does on youth sports in their baseball complex up there at the old airport, as well as the event center and what goes on there. I know that Nash County is having a large part of this as well, with our park system being as developed as it is. Thomas and his staff is also doing a great job bringing tournaments to Nash County. Several very large tournaments for this year centered around girls softball, and there were quite a bit of girls softball players. If you were out into the weekend, you probably run into those all over town. I don't know how many were here, but everywhere I looked, there were teenage girls that were in softball uniforms, and last night out around town a little bit, saw a lot of families eating in our restaurants that I know had stayed in our hotels. When we had our budget presentation, if you'll go to the second sheet of that, you'll see, if you remember, this is a 15-member board that is appointed by the Board of Commissioners, and we heard a long number of requests. Quite frankly, the requests are up quite a bit. The meeting was the longest one we've ever had, a little over 4 hours, Donna, if I remember right. Good presentation, but we did fund 16 different agencies. You'll see the list of those on there, including travel and tourism, which is a significant part of the budget. But the general statute tells us what they receive. If you recall, we have 5% tax rate. 2 of that goes to the city of Rocky Mount to be used for some type of capital improvement that is approved by the TDA. And then the other 3 cents come to Nash County. And of that 3 cent, 2 cent has to go to travel and tourism. That's why you'll see them get 2/3 of the funding. But there are several new ones on here, and the concentration is around, quite frankly, our smaller towns. We've put a major effort over the last 3 or 4 years to promote our small towns up and down from Middlesex all the way up to Whitaker to try to help them with the events that they want to put on. It may not put heads in beds, which is what drives this particular tax revenue, but in a sense it does, because it brings awareness to Nash County, it brings people, and there are 2 facets by which they spend money. They certainly spend money staying in your hotels overnight, but they certainly spend money visiting any gas station or any restaurants or any other venue that we may have in the county. So the board, I think, did a great job of listing all these requests. Some of them were funded in full, some of them were not. Some of them weren't funded for various reasons, but we, I think, have let those people know by this point in time, or they would know very shortly, if they were funded, what amount, and if they did not get funded, why they did not get funded this round. But if you have any questions on those, feel free to call me anytime and ask any questions. If you get any complaints out of, or any questions from your people in your district, feel free to call me at any time, and I'd certainly be glad to discuss it with you or try to tell you why the board did what it did. Any questions on that at a first glance?
Yeah, well.
Yes, sir, Mr. Bell.
I was just looking at the budget for 2022 and 2023 here, and how we able to get it less than it was for 22, for 23, and you increased funding for, I mean, you added some more agencies on municipalities for funding.
I think you're probably not looking at the actual budget for 2022. You may be looking at 2022 projected budget. The 2022 actual budget for...
I'm looking at 2023.
Okay, 2023, what revenue projected was $1,100,000.
Yeah.
And for 2022, it was $934,000. The column in between those two...
Okay, I was looking at projection.
Okay. And what that is Ms. Wood and her staff projected what it's actually going to be for 2022.
Actual, yeah, I see it.
But she always does conservative projections of revenue, and she will base it off in what 2022 was, but she certainly won't use all of it because it's up considerably from what it was on 2022. And she is with us. Ms. Wood, if you'd like to add anything I've said about how you project these revenues, feel free to. Okay, thank you. Any other questions on it? That answer your question, Mr. Bell?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Got it.
All right, the other committee was the MPO, or the TAC committee, which is the Transportation Advisory Committee. I just took liberty to run you the whole agenda packet that we had and the supporting data, so maybe you'll take a little time and spend on that and understand a little bit better what this organization does. And basically what it does, it sets priorities for where the funding goes, for any funding that we get towards roadways in this Rocky Mount Urban Area MPO. The members of that board, of course, the Rocky Mount has 3 council members on it. Edgecombe has 1 commissioner, Nash has 1 commissioner, Nashville has 1 council person, Sharpsburg has 1, and then we always have our North Carolina DOT transportation member, which at the present time is Melvin Mitchell. I think I did point out to you that at this last meeting here, Mr. Bullock resigned and generally is held by, the chairperson is held by one of the members of the city council because they have 3 people on there. When they elected the chairman, I suggested that we put Mr. Mitchell as chair, and he chose not to do that because of time constraints. So eventually I was elected chair and agreed to do it, even though I have a little bit of conflict sometime with our 1:30 meeting on that same Monday, but most of the time we are through, and if staff would just work with me a little bit more when I have a conflict to keep that agenda as short as we can, I'll try my best to be over there. But it was a good meeting, and what we're working on now primarily is our STIP update, and the STIP is the new name that DOT calls it, and I'd ask you to go through there and see what projects are coming forward through DOT. There are quite a few, and you'll get an update each time of what major projects we have and what % they are complete. The only new one that was awarded during the last quarter, and we do meet quarterly, usually we'll have 1 or 2 special meetings, was the roundabout at the intersection of Bivenu Road and Highway 64. And you'll see a little comment about that in there. It was, low bidder on that was Fred Smith Construction Company out of Raleigh, which is the construction company that has recently bought PLT and Rose Brothers, so I think you'll see them in this area quite a bit moving forward. But that would be a large safety factor, I think, at that interchange, because it's just due to the angle and the curve on Bivenu Road, it's very difficult to get out at those spots. So you'll have a roundabout there moving forward. And then, of course, you got an update on Sunset Avenue project as well as Old Carriage project and whatever else is going on. But look that over good. If you have any questions, feel free to call me, and I'll be glad to discuss it with you. And that's all my report. Any questions on either one of those?
Have you heard from DOT or the governor on the resolution that we passed about?
I have not yet, sir. We did discuss that at this meeting last Monday, but I have not heard any comment on it as of this date. Okay, any other item to bring before the board by staff?
No, sir.
Board of Commissioners? If not, I would entertain a closed session for attorney-client privilege at this time.
So moved.
Have a motion to go into closed session. And a second. Wilkins and Belfield. Any questions on that motion? And I believe there will be no action that I know of. I think this is primarily on a lease situation. Okay. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Madam Clerk, did you have in mind we'd be